Welcome back to this series looking at questions on the foundational Catholic theology paper which may cause students to struggle or to worry in the exam. In this video we're going to look at the question that you can see on screen there. So explain from a Catholic and Jewish or two Christian views beliefs about the use of statues in worship. Now again, with these questions on the foundational Catholic theology paper, what we need to do first and foremost is decide which direction we are going to take our answer in. Now, looking at this question, the obvious, in my humble opinion, direction to go is to go Catholic and Jewish, because the Jewish viewpoint has a very different viewpoint to the Catholic. So what you can do in the exam is just very lightly, just cross that one out, just to remind yourself that they're the two views that you're going to give so that you don't go and get yourself confused. Now, there are a number of directions that you could go in this answer, so rather than providing a full model answer, I'm going to explore the directions that you could take it in. So, firstly, you could go down the very specific route from the Catholic viewpoint. So, Catholics use statues in their worship as aids to prayer. Now, regardless of which direction you take your answer, that's the sentence that you're going to want to start with, because it shows the examiner you know what a statue is and how it's used in worship. So, going down the specific route, you are going to look at specific statues. So, you would go, for example, statues of Mary. And here you can talk about all of the ways in which Mary is a role model to Christians. Now, obviously, Mary features later on in the exam paper and in the specification, so you can take that content and bring it in here. So you've got that example of a perfect disciple saying yes to God. Being faithful to Jesus. And obviously within that you want to make sure that you're saying that Catholics don't pray to Mary, that we pray for her intercession. So if you gave a really nice paragraph about statues of Mary, that would move you on. Then go secondly, and you could pick, for example, the crucifix. And again, on the Applied Catholic Theology paper, you have to know about the crucifix because it features in the Features of the Church section, and it features here as a statue. So you've got that it's the death of Christ, but you're going to want to talk about sacrifice and salvation and the forgiving or the removal of sin. And if you wanted to be really, really detailed, you could talk about atonement and redemption within that also. Now that would be two very good, very clear paragraphs from a Catholic viewpoint. Alternatively, you could go far more generic and just explain what statues are, how they help prayer, how they allow you to inspire Catholic devotion. So you could talk about, for example, the Sacred Heart of Jesus. You could talk about specific statues of saints. You could talk about the Stations of the Cross. There's a range of statues that you could talk about. You could talk about La Pieta, which obviously is within the unit as well. So you've got a variety of things there. You could talk in a generality and then just give examples. So you could go, statues allow Catholics to understand key events within Christian history and their significance. For example, La Pieta shows Mary holding the crucified Christ. This allows Catholics to understand the love and devotion that Mary showed to Christ, and that as Christians we should respond to Christ in the same way. In a kind of generic, here is an idea, and here's a statue that backs it up, Whereas with the approach that you can see on the screen, we've gone, here is a statue and this is what it means. So you're either going to do statue and significance, or significance of statues, and then here's an example. Either or are going to work really, really well. Now, your second viewpoint is going to be your Orthodox Jews. And you're going to pick your Orthodox Jews because they reject statues, because in the Ten Commandments it teaches to avoid making false idols. And again, you can explain that in a little bit more detail, in terms of that they believe that by having statues it takes away from the worship of the one God, it takes away from the worship of the one true God. When we look back then at the overall answer, what we will find is that your Catholic side again is going to be significantly bigger, significantly larger, significantly more developed than your Orthodox Jewish side. And again, that is absolutely fine, and again, the examiner is going to expect that, because the Catholic Church has this wonderful, rich tradition, and this wonderful depth and beauty of the use of statues within our worship and our prayer. Orthodox Jews don't, and as long as you can explain why, that it's based off of the Ten Commandments, it's based from the teachings of Exodus 20, to avoid making false idols, then you're going to get those 8 marks. So as ever with your 8 mark explain questions on this foundational Catholic theology paper, be prepared for there to be a substantive Catholic viewpoint, and then your second viewpoint, whether that is Jewish or of another Christian tradition, to be somewhat smaller.